So I'm very excited for this recipe. Feels like the fall, pumpkin clam chowder. And clam chowder is also something I really miss on the autoimmune protocol. So it's a great substitute, and during regular season, you don't even need to use pumpkin. You can find a substitute. But let's get going. First, we're going to crisp the bacon and saute all the vegetables here. You're gonna need some carrots, leek, celery. This recipe calls for clam broth, but I'm replacing it with bone broth because who would I be if I didn't use bone broth in my recipes? And then we're gonna use an onion. We're also gonna need coconut milk, a couple cans of pumpkin, and about 4 cans of clams. And also feel free to use the juice from here as well. So let's get going. First, we're gonna peel and cut a pound of carrots. Next, we're gonna chop up a leek. I like to cut it that way and then open this and give this a good clean. My favorite, gotta dice the onions. Next, I'm going to saute the bacon. I did it in 2 pans so that we get the maximum bacon fat to add the vegetables in after we get the bacon cooking a bit. And I'm actually going to add the onions in because I always find that onions take forever to saute and I like them a bit darker. We just need 1 cup of celery for our saute. I'm gonna start adding some of these vegetables we prepared for the saute. Okay, well everything is sauteing. I'm gonna be super efficient and start loading up our slow cooker for the 4 hours. We're gonna put in the coconut milk. Ooh, it's nice and warmed up. We're gonna do the pumpkin puree. Careful of the splash, it's already hot. We're gonna do the clams, and I'm gonna leave the juice in here because extra broth. Speaking of broth, we're gonna do Beauty and the Broth beef bone broth concentrate. You could do 1 of these pouches or 2, depending on how many people you're feeding. And also some thyme. Feel free to just take it off the stem here, right into our crock pot. Right before I add everything to the pot, I kind of fished out the bacon with tongs so I could cut it up into little pieces for our stew. Just be careful because it's a bit hot. As it turns out, ripping it up is a little bit easier. Just make sure it cools down a bit. Because we use the bone broth concentrate, which is reduced down to have only the most potent of broth, I'm going to add water to it since we cook the water out of the broth. So I'm going to add anywhere from 2 to 4 cups depending on how much you use. And last but not least, we're gonna add all these vegetables that we're sauteing on the stove. Delicious. 4 hours later, and that concludes the pumpkin clam chowder.